Hey everybody, welcome to Game Audio Hour number 102. That's 2 more than 100, which we just did. We are 98 away from another massive anniversary. How was that party, guys? We did it. Well, hold on, let me do this. A weekly podcast, we discuss all things game audio, creative ideas, latest techniques, project experiences, audio secrets, and here's where you'll find your in-depth coverage about stuff. And yeah, I mean, that party was epic, wasn't it? Our 100th, we just went out, partied all night, champagne. Who was driving the limo? Was it Mike with all the people in there?
Kyle, your voice has gone through like a 2-bit crush. It sounds fantastic.
Really?
Yeah. You're in like 2 bits.
All right. Somebody take over while I fix it.
Well, so it's I can be the Kyle. So Mike, how's the composing gig going?
That was so specific. It's almost like you know all the details. It's fun. It's a fun little project. It's whimsical, engaging. I think it's going to be. It's a mobile project for a young audience, and therefore it allows me to just kind of have fun with it. And the thing that people always tell you to have as a kind of cliche, I'm actually having fun. So life's good. How are things on your end?
Well, before we get to me, speaking of life being good, let's go to the man whose life is always good. That's got to be the one and the only Vincent Diamante. Am I doing a pretty good Kyle impression?
Wow.
How am I sounding? Am I still sounding pretty bad?
Ooh, yeah, you're still pretty crunchy there. But I think I'm sounding okay. Hopefully the bug hasn't hit my side of the connection. I'm doing all right. I'm especially enamored with my latest reappropriation of gear. As some of you guys know, I'm an Iwi guy, and I've got my Iwi, and I have a Hercules guitar stand.
Oh.
So I'm just going to show this really quickly.
Nice.
Yes, the Hercules guitar stand with the auto-locking arms that swivel when you weigh it down. It works with the Iwi, so I'm so glad that I found out that this is a solution. So, yep, I'm pretty happy right now.
Is it built for the Iwi, or it just happens to work? It was completely coincidental.
No, it's just a plain old guitar stand. This is the one that's actually for 2 guitars, since I do actually have multiple Iwis on hand. And it works just fine. It fits just right for the width of the Iwi.
Fantastic. Let's hear from Kyle. See if Kyle's back from 2-bit land. No, can't hear Kyle at all now.
That would be 0 bits.
Okay, Kyle has been reduced from 2 bits to 0. This is what happens when you bit crush too much, ladies and gentlemen.
Cautionary tale.
I can hear me. I can hear me.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Now you're back.
Am I back?
you're okay. You are
All
totally
right.
okay.
And you know what? I did nothing between 0 bits and better bits.
Ooh.
How are you, Kyle?
I'm hating the Googs. Right now, the Googs and I ain't getting along. That's how I'm doing. Screw you, Googs. Screw Googs. That's going to be a bumper sticker I'm going to create. Screw Googs! And people can just stamp it, put it on the back, stamp it on the cars of the Google, camera car that goes around. Screw Googs.
Right.
That'd be pretty funny. I'm going to start a campaign. I'm
We
going
can
to get
always,
Donald Trump people to do it. I'll be super successful.
We can always talk about Black MIDI. I'd be interested to know how many of our current viewers actually know what it means when we joke to each other about Black MIDI.
No, I am not. That is a very no, sir. Do not try to sneak in another Black MIDI episode by claiming that we have graduated to a point where we have to reintroduce the world to it. I will not be a party of that, sir.
Well, consider that we have accumulated listeners during the course of our now 100 episodes.
Mr. Shapiro.
I'm just saying that there may have been people who jumped aboard after the infamous Black MIDI episode. Dare we deny them this bit of their heritage?
I just cleaned it up. I just fixed it in the chat room. Now everybody knows. I just said Black MIDI is horrible. There, now you know. Now we've saved ourselves from that episode. Mike, you are like the Elton John song. You are actually letting the sun go down on you. It's a beautiful sight, though. So as you watch the show, everybody, concentrate on Mike. He fades out in a brilliant gradient that takes an hour.
Yes, and if you watch the episode at 30 or 40 times speed, it's a really dramatic effect. I recommend it once you've watched it at normal speed.
It's like God has a little fader dial on the wall.
He's riding the faders on Mike's sunlight. So actually, speaking of sunsets, well, I guess we gotta pay a little bit of pay our respects to yet another
oh my goodness
notable legendary musician who's joined the Great Jam in the Sky. This year has been horrible, hasn't it? There's been we've lost so many greats, but of course we need to make mention of the symbol, the man, the icon.
I think he went back to Prince. Yeah, he went back to Prince for quite some time. That is a very sad go.
I'll say one thing about Prince is that as far as musicianship goes, he's definitely on a different level. I mean, he can play pretty much any instrument that you could name, and he can play it decently, if not extremely well. For all of the sort of the interesting artistic trajectories that he took in his lifetime, one thing's for sure is that he was an extremely, extremely commendable musician.
Yeah, very talented guy. I just watched a video today of him switching drums with Sheila E. and not losing a beat.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, amazing. You get some people like that just can musical instruments are all just the same thing. It's just different motor skills for the same result, and he was one of those kinds of people.
Very talented. Sorry to see him go, and such a surprise. I mean, he got like the flu of all things. Isn't that what I last heard?
Really? Is that what it was?
That's what I last heard. Did anybody hear anything different?
Actually, I don't know.
Yeah, he was sick with the flu, and he had an emergency plane landing because he wasn't feeling well, but then he felt better the next day or two and did a concert, and then died a couple of days later.
Yeah.
Sad.
Wow. This year's been kind of rough, hasn't it? I mean, the Great Jam in the Sky is getting pretty crowded now. They're going to have to split into different groups, I think.
Well, in addition to Prince dying, our own Game Audio people took a hit too, because Jory passed away from his motorcycle accident, which is really sad.
Yeah.
But he is going to mix some awesome records up there. He's going to create some awesome sounds. That's
so
Man, I thought he was doing better too, because his mom was giving reports, and they were being proliferated over the media through Twitter and other places about how he was finally, I think at best he was still being assisted with breathing, but was able to respond, maybe not verbally, but physically to conversation, and it looked like everything. I got to be honest, I thought everything, here it is, it's great, he's going to start getting better from here. So I was really surprised to suddenly hear that he'd passed away.
Does anyone want to give a quick recap of his history and a little bit what he did?
Oh yeah,
that'd be a good idea.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Jory, he was an ex-LucasArts guy. I think he joined LucasArts back in the late 90s and was part of a lot of those games. And he also contributed to many games, audio from people who were ex-LucasArts. So Telltale Games. He worked with Double Fine, and let's see. I know he just got a bunch of awards for some of the recent adventure games like The Walking Dead. I mean, he was very good. He worked with a lot of people. He was always willing to share what he had. I remember actually being a kid attending GDC back in the mid-2000s, and I came across him, and we just started chatting about stuff, and he was just so open about everything that I knew, and I was like, holy wow, this guy is just sharing all this amazing stuff. Who is this guy? And then I just kept on seeing him at all these different conventions, and I realized, oh, this is just an amazing guy. Jory is an amazing guy, and we have really lost an amazing sound designer there.
Yeah. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Chatties and everybody else, but I thought that I read that he worked on the Birds short as well is that Pixar that did that?
Yes.
Where all the birds are just squeak toys?
Yeah, he did work on that, I think.
Amazing.
Was that also where he got an Academy Award for that?
Well,
I think
see
he did.
right here with an Academy Award, and well deserved. So I see in this list here SimCity 4, The Sims 2, which means that I have accidentally worked with him. He's just been all over the place.
Yeah.
Amazing talent, and that's why you last such a long time in this industry when you have just, a guy like him. He gets to choose what he wants to do with that talent, and then has, maybe I'm speaking out of the side of my face, but I never heard anything negative come out from him, or whether it was from him when I'd spoken to him or written about him where he said anything negative about the game industry, and just was such a positive spirit, wonderful guy.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have known him better, and I hate it when these things happen because then you realize that you lost an opportunity to hang out with another genius.
Well, let's lighten the mood a little.
Yes.
Indeed. I've been in the market, guys, for just going to switch into something completely different. Been into the market recently for controller keyboards. Now, we sort of talked a little bit about controller keyboards a few episodes back, and the different choices that you guys, and I think Mike was, you were looking for quite some time for a controller keyboard, and you finally settled on, what was it again?
The Nectar Impact, the 88 key version. Oh, not the Impact. Yeah, it was the Impact. Whichever one doesn't have the giant screen. It just has the modest little one-line display.
I was interested to see that actually at the moment there seems to be kind of a fad, which largely seems to be centered around Japan, and I have no explanation for it.
Wait. Did you say there's a fad in Japan?
Yeah, that's been known to happen.
Okay.
It's big in Japan. Like me. No. The thing that I'm talking about, of course, are mini keys. Mini keys. Now, I guess any one of us, especially specifically Vince, because I know firsthand how fantastic a keyboard player Vince is, because I've seen his flex his chops in a Japanese music store with people turning around looking, who's that guy playing over there? That's incredible.
Yeah, that happened to us at NAMM as well. Vince sat down at a piano, and the room just started gravitating towards Vince. Yep. Well done, sir. But I can't scoff at anybody's skills in this chat. Good job, guys.
So what I'm interested to know is that for non-keyboardists, so I guess that would include myself and perhaps the esteemed Kyle Johnson. Sorry, you are an actual pianist, virtuoso, but you're just very modest about it. The question is mini keys. Have you ever played a set of mini keys that you've liked, that you've thought, actually, I could work with these?
That I've liked? Oh, my God.
I'm trying to remember what it's called. Oh, I figured it out.
Does anyone remember that?
I mean, well, let's see. Those mini Yamaha ones that I was just trying, honestly, didn't. They kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
The reface keyboards.
The reface keyboards. I mean, those, I definitely have a very strong memory of them being not that playable. No, I'm trying to remember if there was anything that was actually really good, because the mini key concept has been around for a while. But I can't think of anything that I would really want to spend more than 5 or 10 minutes of time playing. But I guess it also depends on the type of music that you do and what you want your keyboard to do, right? I mean, my way of tracking typically means I'm taking an instrument and I'm going to be performing that instrument for 4 or 5 minutes at a time, and I want to be able to control that instrument in a real way. And mini keyboards don't really do that for me. Yes, I'm not sure.
I can certainly see how if you are a pianist or a keyboard player, mini keys it's kind of like Kyle or I trying to play guitar or bass on a ukulele. It's like it's just you can do it, but it's just really not. It's not a very comfortable thing to use in a sort of a practical utilitarian kind of situation. But the strangest product on the market at the moment, I think, is the Korg Micro Key series. Not the Nano Key, not the kind of flat buttons on the slab. They make another set of actual mini key controllers called, I think it's Micro Key, and it's strange simply because they make one of them in a very long configuration, something like 49 key mini key keyboard,
I see it.
which to me seems very, very peculiar because the whole point of a mini key keyboard is that it's to save space, and potentially for people who aren't pianists, I mean, I can see where they're coming from when they plan those kinds of products, because people who aren't pianists but they know how to put together a chord, but they can't play like Vince can, but they can put together a chord. That may be all you really need just to sort of test harmonies and see how it works. So if that's the case, then you want to save space on the desktop. So like a big chunky weighted thing is overkill if you are in that situation. But the Korg
chat rooms talked about a couple things that are pretty cool, like the Keith McMillan. It kind of reminds me of one of those.
Oh, the keyboard, right? Yes. Yeah.
Korg mini. One of those Korg controllers, those really tiny Korg controllers, which is
the nano controls.
Yeah,
I actually like those Korg nano controls with the rotary controls. Like those actually are pretty cool, and I've actually really close to replacing my iPad with one of those because I do like that tactile stuff.
Have you tried the keyboard version of the Nano Key? Because it's fairly unplayable, I think, if you want to sort of use it like an actual keyboard.
I haven't. I don't think I've actually laid hands on that one. I'm looking at the 61 key one, and that does seem really ridiculous. The fact that it is 61 micro keys there, it's kind of crazy.
Actually, Matt in the chat room has just mentioned one of the more interesting micro keyboards, which is the CME X key. Have you guys tried that? It is actually really good. It's not.
Yep.
Sorry.
I have one. I put a link in earlier. That's the one I like. You can really beat the heck out of it. It feels like this keyboard right here, which I love. This keyboard.
Yeah, it's actually polyphonic aftertouch as well.
Ooh.
Oh wow! Really?
That's actually kind of rare in any controller keyboard, regardless of mini key or not. It is actually relative for a flat keyboard. It's relatively playable in that the black keys are slightly raised up. They're full-sized keys, but they have sort of a gutter in between them, which means that when you've got your hand on it, you do sort of get a sense of where your fingers are placed, even though it's not raised off. I think the gutter fills in for the fact that they're not raised off the surface. So, I mean, you wouldn't be able. It's quite difficult to play sort of with any level of virtuosity on that. But
I want
if you want
49 key version of that.
There is one
on the keys.
There is a larger version of the X key.
Is there? I've only got a small one.
It's very expensive though. It's like 39 keys, I think.
39.
X key 37. I see that.
37. That is not 49. Them bastards.
Sorry.
So let me play devil's advocate. What's the practical value other than perhaps triggering something in a live performance context?
Yeah, that's really the only real practical value is just as
buskering.
A few people have chimed off in the chat room. If you are doing game jams or if you need to be mobile, like if you need to sort of, like me right now, our office has just moved at Vitae Backroom, and so at the moment I have no controller keyboard, and I'm often thinking to myself, if I bought something really nice for myself that I could use at home, I could just chuck it in my bag and take it to work. However, the X key is very good because it's extremely flat, so it does fit in your bag. Other sort of mini keys, the Korg Nano key does too, but that's a bit less playable. Was it somebody in the chat room was mentioning that Akai would be a fantastic name, GAR88103, who I think is Chase. Was mentioning the Akai LPK25. I'm just not sure whether there's a solution for mini keys and excellent playability.
If you are looking for a low-profile keyboard, and you are like, let me give a guess, 65 to 70% of the people in game audio who aren't actual like performer pianists. You know how to play the piano, you can, but you're not pulling off Rachmaninoff every 10 minutes. If you're that person, low profile, and you want to be able to have something that you can play and have a controller and have be a controller, I don't think you can beat this X key myself personally.
I know some people use small keyboards for like key triggers, MIDI triggers for multi-articulation instruments. So instead of having the lowest octave on your keyboard being there to switch articulations, you can just move that to another keyboard. So you can, you can keep the idea of triggering articulation changes with a keyboard, but you don't actually have to give up any real estate. Or you can position it so it's ergonomically maybe more accessible than the far left or the far right. I have heard that used for those kind of things.
Oh yeah, just like a whole separate manual that would be under the keyboard for articulations and things like that, huh?
Right, but wherever you decided to put it, but it might just be easier than always having to reach to the bottommost octave.
Actually, just to go off on a slight tangent, Vince or Kyle or Mike, in your adventures with middleware, like specifically Wise, I know has a lot of integration that can work with MIDI input. Have you ever hooked up a MIDI controller to any middleware for any kind of purpose? And if you have, like, what benefits were there to doing that, and how did you use it?
Vince, you want to go first?
Well, let's see. I played around a little bit with that when I was messing with Fmod Studio a few years back. And then I haven't touched it since. I don't really use MIDI or any sort of controller surface when working with middleware.
And I am of the same school and did it with Wise and never went back. I just tested it out, see if it was something. I think the problem is that the game doesn't need you to do any kind of like. We're not developing games live in a concert where you have to get on a controller and start affecting something. That's me being ham-fisted about this whole thing. I know that there's a subtle aspect of making it easier for you to put in changes and draw automations or whatever, but I don't know, you just become kind of used to the standard way of doing it, and adding a controller didn't really make a difference for me.
Hold on, I just got to go answer the door. Just give me a moment.
Was that your door?
That was me. Yeah, hold on.
All right, guys, time to bet. This is what we did when Mike left. What's he getting, and can we talk him into opening it when he gets back?
Oh, man, it's got to be a cool synth, right? It's got to be something.
Wait a minute. Oh, he's back already. Shh.
I'm back.
So what was it, and will you unbox it in front of us?
It's a delivery coming. They're climbing up the staircase to a place right now, so in another few minutes I'm going to have to run away. Will I unbox it? Well, I can show it.
So you are...
It's probably not for me.
You're saying that you're living in a palatial building of which you have the penthouse apartment on the top floor, and they call up to deliver you the packages. Your life, sir, is beautiful.
I live in the East Wing, and...
The Tangerines, which have been missing for like 50 shows, live in the West Wing now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Mandarins, you mean. Yeah,
right.
Wrong season, Kyle.
It's California. It's always seasonal here. Hey, Alex, was that our sneaky soft topic?
No, it wasn't. I haven't come up with a soft topic yet. If you was scratching their heads wondering what
going on this keyboard thing actually for a bit, because...
Yeah, go.
I mean, what is really the practical benefit? Because they are really small. I mean, many of these micro key keyboards are much smaller, much thinner than your laptops. So you got a MacBook Pro that's going to be about 4 or 5 pounds, right, or maybe a little less than that. That X key there, that's a 1 pound keyboard.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's cool that it's 1 pound, but I mean, I guess it has keys. It doesn't even have a mod wheel. I mean, that feels like something that I really want to do.
It has a pressure-sensitive button that you press that kind of increases the modulation as you press it harder.
Oh, really? That's how you do it. Oh.
It's the same with the pitch bend. I believe the pitch bend has an up and a down, and the harder you press it, the more extreme it goes to what your pitch bend setting is. Okay. There's also a pedal button in the bottom corner that if you hold down is a sustain pedal. And
but what if you just had, okay, I'm not going to use a 1 pound keyboard. I'm going to use a 4 pound keyboard that will have 49 keys and a mod wheel and a separate pitch bend and maybe a couple extra faders or knobs on it. I'm looking at this. For around the same price, you could get a Roland A49, and that will give you some knobs, your pitch bend, your mod wheel, and even some DAW controller stuff if you want to do that.
Actually, the new Roland A49 has a D-beam as well, like one of those funky Groovebox D-beam. There we go. Here's the delivery. Back in a moment.
Can you bring your camera with you so we can be there to?
Yes, please. Take your live camera. A D-beam? Seriously, Roland?
I liked the D-beam. Well,
yeah, well, I did too in 1927 when it came out, but releasing it on.
Yes, okay. I do have to admit that I was using the D-beam when I was using my keytar, which was a Roland AX7. I had the white keytar there, and it was fantastic.
I'm sorry, somebody has to kick Vince off the show. I can't do it. Keytars and D-beams, Vince, you're killing us.
It was
you
so
got a
cool.
sock tie with keys on it, like a little piano sock tie with keys, because that is perfect.
Hey. If it's cool enough for Herbie Hancock, it's cool enough for me.
I was going to say Jimmy Jam, but same idea.
All right, you make good points. I have, by the way, a Roland A33 that I still use, probably because it doesn't have a D-beam. But it also happens to be a really good piece of equipment.
You don't like the D-beam?
Are you snapping your fingers?
No, I'm doing this, making the wave with my hand.
Oh, I thought you did the D-beam.
But for your information, that was that delivery was a 10 kilogram. 10 kilograms. What's that like? I don't know, 7 billion imperial tons or whatever it is.
22 pounds.
Yeah, 10. It's like 4 Fahrenheits or whatever. Bag of prestige Japanese rice.
Oh, nice.
Well, so I win because I at least chose it was a food item that you were going to get delivered. I said it was your weekly Mandarin Orange delivery.
So I could kind of. You want an unboxing, but I can't actually lift it because it's 10 kilograms and I'm a weakling.
So the person that brought it up, was it 2 people or 1 person that brought it up, since it's so heavy?
Yeah, these Japanese delivery guys they're really small and really thin and extraordinarily strong.
Huh.
He's just like holding it like this, like in his arm. It's like, here you go, like sign here, so I do that. And he's like hands, oh boy, all over backwards.
Don't put it on the corner of your house or your whole building will start to lean.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, what are we talking about? D-beams. You don't like the D-beam?
No.
Can you use the D-beam to control a black MIDI stream? Kyle, your thoughts?
Oh my God! You know what? I'll be back. Maybe. You know what D and D-beam stands for? Dorky. It's the dorky beam. Nobody has sense using that thing.
The D-beam is sort of bad kind of flashbacks to like early 90s Roland, where it was all about like the MC303 Groovebox. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Sure.
I think that was the first Roland device that had the D-beam.
Ooh, that's a really good trivia question. What was the first Roland device that had a D-beam? I was actually going to go with a keyboard. I thought it was on a keyboard before it was on a drum box.
I'm pretty sure it was the MC303 Groovebox.
You might be right. That's the black and white one, right? Not the reddish pink one that they did?
No. Okay. It was actually introduced with not the 303, but the 505.
505 was the first D-beam.
It was the 505 Groovebox.
I actually had a 505 Groovebox, guys, you know. I actually had one.
Wow.
It was actually... Actually, I can tell you that the MC303, the predecessor to the MC505, was a terrible blemish on the history of an otherwise legendary company. However,
the D-beam didn't do it, huh?
However, no, wait a minute, I'm getting to it. The MC303 in a live setting was incredible. It's the one time in my entire life where I've had the opportunity to play live. And this was in a basement in China in 1999.
Okay.
And it was to like let's see, it was about 10 American, 15 European, and something like 20 Japanese techno fans in the international students' dormitory in 1999 in Shanghai in the basement. And there was no ventilation in the basement, so it got really, really, really kind of musky and kind of sweaty down there, and all I had to work on, there's some guy playing with his Denon like CDJ kind of thing, which was like late 90s thing. All I had to work on was a Roland MC303, and that thing, when you play it really, really loud,
Yeah.
It's really, really great.
A lot
I
of
think-
people are still using them today, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, it was all pretty bad. But
I'm going to say the most hipster thing I've ever said in my life. Are you ready?
yeah,
I like the D-Beam back when it was called a theremin.
Oh man.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I don't-
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I can always depend on you for
Gonna
that.
make the
think you
same
can-
joke.
I think a theremin you can kind of stroke the music out of it. Well, you can't really do that with a D-beam, can you?
Yeah.
You've seen like those theremin virtuosos.
Oh yeah.
The way that they kind of sort of coax
Yeah.
the sine wave out of the was it
Beautiful.
a triangle wave out of the unit. You can't really do that with a D-beam. You just kind of have to go like that.
Do you remember when Alesis did the Air and they had their?
I had multiple Alesis Air units. I had the Air. I had the Air FX.
Uh-huh.
I had so much fun with those things.
Did you
and
just
then
have the
I-
two? You have two hands, or did you have like three and you had to take off a shoe to work this?
No. I was actually switching between them. Honestly, those were dumb because they were strictly audio processing things, and
Yeah.
they couldn't do anything with MIDI.
Oh,
And I really wanted to actually utilize it into my workflow as a compositional tool. And it's like, okay, I can try as much as I can, but inherently, there's no way it's going to happen.
I'm going to give you
It's-
that.
Who
Yeah,
would
that's-
who would you guys choose as your all-time favorite hardware maker?
Ooh, is that your
Oh,
soft
God.
topic?
All-time favorite hardware maker. No, it's not a soft topic. I'm still coming up with that one.
Well, we have to thank our sponsors and move on to the hard topic too.
Okay. Let's start with our all-time favorite software maker, shall we, Carl?
No, all-time favorite. What was your question? Because I'm good with that. I think that'd be fun.
Well, first we should just talk for a moment about our all-time favorite software maker. I think that'd be a good idea too. Who is that,
Our
Carl?
all-time favorite software maker happens to be Isotope.
Why is that?
Awesomely supporting the show and let us give away all kinds of cool software.
We had a winner in last week's contest. Who
Whoa,
won.
there goes 2-bit Carl again. You've gone bit crushed again.
Are you kidding me? I'm not doing anything.
It's okay. We can fix it in Isotope. You know, when you finally put the show back on YouTube, then it'll be all fixed.
What isotope product could we use to reconstitute Kyle's voice? Well, I would say maybe RX.
RX would probably do a bang-up job. Yeah.
Am I good or
Probably
bad?
bad.
Sorry.
It'd probably be like the opposite of a bit crusher, so it'd be like a bit assembler.
Right, maybe the harmonic enhancer module of Ozone could add back all those partial frequencies that have been stripped away from Kyle's voice.
All right.
I think Carl is.
I
Oh,
have
Kyle's
retired
back.
He's back.
No, I'm webcamming. Screw that bastard. Actually, I would like to thank my friend Steven Spencer for this awesome microphone use. It is a, oh, dang it, he told me I wanted to bring it up so I could tell everybody. It's a Black Spade UM17B. This is just the UM17. It's a gorgeous AK-47 microphone, like a Telefunken. It's wonderful. Tube mic. I was going through my Mog Pre, and it sounded great. But what's killing it is this software called Loopback, which I can watch it go crazy. So it's definitely Loopback is causing the issue. So thank you, Loopback. And I will now switch back to my webcam. That's why they call it Loopback, because eventually it'll loop, and you have to go back to something else.
You know, that hypothetical list we've been compiling of companies who can never be our sponsor just keeps growing every episode.
I got a simple request for them. Make your shit work, we'll talk nice about you. Speaking of which, Isotope stuff works all the time. I love Isotope. They have been a wonderful sponsor of the show. Last week we gave away Ozone 7, and you know what they did? They said, hey, wait, it's your 100th episode. Give something else away in addition to Ozone 7, and we did just that. And we gave away, oh, help me, guys. It's slipping my mind right now. It's the riser thingy.
Oh yeah, the
Mobius.
Mobius
Yes.
filter. So the winner didn't know that they were getting Ozone 7 and Mobius filter, and they did. Thank you for sponsoring the show, Isotope. We love you. And now, on to the question that Alex had, which is, what is your favorite hardware manufacturer?
All-time favorite hardware manufacturer. So, as an example, you could go for like some of the legendary Japanese companies: Korg, Yamaha, Roland, Akai, Kawai, Casio. I think there's a few more.
Yeah.
Or you can go for, like
Go Emu.
let's
Alesis.
guess each other's
Yeah.
let's guess each other's favorite hardware maker. I'm going to choose Kyle's. Kyle's is going to be. Let me just think for a moment. Eventide.
Favorite hardware manufacturer of anything?
Of anything, well, of course, in audio and in game audio.
Nope. No, sir. No, you are incorrect.
No, not Eventide.
No. I love you.
Then give me two more guesses. So Vince, you have a guess.
Does it? It's something that has to be used in game audio, right? It can't be anywhere.
Well,
else.
Can it just be generic audio?
Yeah, I mean, audio. Well, what we do is we take generic audio for games. So I guess it all counts really.
So it could be.
I see those Yamahas behind you, so that's immediately what I think.
But he doesn't have that much. He's got a TX81Z TX81Z.
Yes, he does have that.
FM synth, but I don't think he doesn't rave about it that much.
It's a beautiful synth. Are we going to do this for each person? Because I like this game. We'll do 3 guesses for each person.
Vince, what's your guess? You going to say Yamaha?
Well, I guessed Yamahas, but
right.
yeah, okay. I know that doesn't work.
It's not
you,
Yamaha.
Mike?
Mike, what do you think?
I'm guessing what Kyle's favorite hardware manufacturer is.
Yes.
Is that the game?
Yeah.
Oh wait, guitars.
He always goes on about these units that he loves, and I always just kind of zone out until he's done, so it's hard for me to recall the details. I usually wait till I hear a word that I understand, so there'll be like all this discussion of the vintage modular synthesizers, and at the end he'll say like the word EQ, and then I'll perk up again. Oh, I know what EQ means. So unfortunately, the stuff before that is kind of lost for me.
All right. Well, it was absolutely guessed in the chat room by Matt M.
Oh, Moog.
Oh, Preptronics.
It is Moog, hands down. I mean, I got Moog crap everywhere, from Voyagers to old synths to I just bought their Moog ladder for my 500 rack. That's just the greatest company. Plus, my parents live in Asheville, so I get to go to the factory. I love Moog everything, Moog. Okay, let's guess Alex's to return the favor and move on to Mike and Vince. Alex, your favorite hardware manufacturer is now Doepfer.
That's a tough one. I have him right here. He's in plastic so that it doesn't get dust on him when I'm not using him.
Come on, that's like love right there. That's why grandparents put plastic on furniture when the kids come around.
No, I would say it's not Doepfer. As much as I really love Doepfer, and this box has an extreme amount of charm, I don't find myself strongly desiring other stuff by Doepfer. I think this I wouldn't mind another 3 of these, but I think, no, good guess, but no.
All right. Who's next?
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and say Roland. I mean, there's a whole lot of Roland talk. You mentioned Roland a lot every week, it seems.
See, we're gonna have to hear out Mike before I give you an answer. Otherwise, Mike's not going to get a guess. Just in case Vince is right, he might not be.
That would have been my guess too. It's a kind of very simple guess, but it's the one that's most obvious.
Yeah, you're right. It's Roland. It's Roland. Vince knows because when Vince and I are walking around Osaka together, we've done it I think 2 or 3 times now, and each time I will say to Vince the same thing, and he'll pretend like it's the first time he's heard me say it. And that is, Vince, did you know that Roland was actually originally an Osaka company? Did you know what they're actually here in Osaka right now where Roland was born? And did you know that the people at Roland are really nice people because I've met a few of them, and they're great? Vince knows that I say that every time, and he pretends it's the first time I'm saying it. Thanks, Vince.
Oh, man. You're welcome. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say Roland just because... that they're sort of a very, at least what I remember from the people that I've met there, they're very simple. Let's just make nice sounding equipment, and they're very honest in the way that they do things, and their products don't always hit the mark. It's the way that their products that are abused, which often leads to some really legendary outcomes, which we all of course know of in synthesizer history, post 80s. But anyway, yeah, got to give the love out to the good old Roland. They're like the old friend who turns up to the barbecue right on time, holding just the drink you want, wearing the cardigan and the blue jeans and the sneakers. It's like, hi guys, I brought the drinks. Anyone thirsty? That's Roland.
They did put on a heck of a party one year at NAMM. Hey, let's guess Vince, because I think Mike is the most challenging of these, although I'm not trying to say Vince isn't. Vince, I'm going to selfishly go first and guess. Your favorite hardware is whoever makes an iwi.
That's Akai. Don't answer that, Vince. Don't answer that yet. We've got to go through the guess before you answer.
Well,
otherwise it's going to end pretty quickly. No, don't answer it. No, don't answer it.
Well, let's see. That is a good guess. That is a very good guess.
Is it? Is it correct?
Don't answer it, otherwise I don't get a go.
Yeah, I'm just saying it is a good guess, and I think other people should have the opportunity to do good guesses as well.
All right.
Mike?
I was going to say Akai because of all the iwi talk. Yeah.
The chat room's even saying Akai.
I've got to see. Yeah, that's the obvious choice. However,
could be the people that make the stand that he just put the Akai on.
Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna choose Yamaha.
Ooh.
Well, why Yamaha? That's interesting. I do like Yamaha stuff. I like them for both, their acoustic and their electronic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have quite a few other Yamaha things, like I've got an MG mixer that I use at home. I like Yamaha stuff. But there is more to music than all these electronic and electric doodads.
No, there is not.
No. Because I am really a pianist more than I am an iwiist. And I do have a favorite piano mark.
Ooh.
And that is Petrov.
Oh, Petrov? Whoa.
Yeah, Petrov. Yeah, just this rather small European brand, but it's rather well loved among jazz pianists, and they consistently make the most inspiring pianos I've ever heard. It just feels so right to me, and I'm not going to get too much into it because I can be like all heady pianist and stuff. If it wasn't the piano stuff, sure, Akai. But I am a pianist before I'm an iwiist, so I have to go and say Petrov.
Nice. Well done.
Wow.
And now, to the hardest one, although Vince threw us for a massive loop.
Yeah, I feel disappointed. I'm going to give you a little constraint in your guess, because otherwise there might be some fumbling. Because I had a particular answer, and it wasn't an obvious answer. So in order to narrow the search space, I'm going to say, think of a company that no longer exists. That's going to be your hint.
Edison. Your favorite is an Edison wire recorder.
That went faster than I thought. Okay, so what's our next topic?
Stradivarius.
Oh.
Wow.
Is that really that's your guess?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't. Because what actually is Mike's chief instrument? Does anyone know? Other than the baton.
They don't exist anymore. Were they an instrument manufacturer or an electronic instrument analog or electronic?
Well, neither.
I'm out. I'm lost.
Okay,
So-
well, my gut would immediately say opcode, but
But they made MIDI interfaces, right? That's not super exciting.
it's not super exciting. They also made software, like the opcode music system,
Of course, and Q back in the day.
Hold on, I've got it. I know, I've got it. eMagic.
eMagic? Oh.
It's not a bad guess because they are were technically a hardware manufacturer. I believe they had an audio interface for a while.
They did have interfaces, yeah.
That's a good guess, but I don't love them for their hardware so much. So it's not quite my favorite hardware manufacturer. It is audio music related, so you don't have to guess Ford or Dyson or whatever. Here's your other hint. I think that Alex is the only one who can possibly guess the correct answer.
Roland.
Wow. No, he said doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
Don't be going saying things like that.
Didn't we decide that Roland has already collapsed due to the D-beam?
No, those are dark thoughts, Kyle. Don't go there. Roland will live forever.
In our hearts, if need be.
If need be. I'm the only one who can guess it.
I mean, I'm saying probably. I'm going to suggest we also put like a 30-second cap on this question so our remaining viewership doesn't all leave.
I can't vote. That's why I'm like this. I already blew my vote. All right, Mike, give us the answer. We have forgotten. We don't know what it is. We've missed it.
All right, here's the really easy hint. They make or made computers.
They
That's
made
hard.
computers?
Oh, Commodore.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Excellent answer.
Really?
My
Excellent.
earliest music compositions were all created on the Commodore Amiga, actually the Commodore 64, which was one of the first home PCs to have a semi-usable audio chip by the standards of the time. And then I moved on to the SID chip, the infamous SID chip, which is still emulated today. The Amiga computer was groundbreaking in a number of ways. It had a number of early synthesizers and software and sequencers, including Bars and Pipes, which we've talked about on the show, which was made by Toto Fay, who went on to do direct music for Microsoft. So the Amiga, and of course there was the whole mod scene, right? Which kind of came out of that, and like Jesper Kyd was a big Amiga guy. So there are a lot of connections to the game audio world, and if you're of a certain age, it was an amazing creative musical tool back when there wasn't a whole lot to offer. So I think in terms of like personal impact, not obviously what I use today, but in terms of personal impact and the whole sweep of my life, I give a thumbs up to Commodore. Let's pour one out for that poor doomed company.
Yeah, that's an excellent one. I should have gotten that one because really, I mean, there are many of us, I suppose, in our generation. I mean, I'm not sure how old everybody else is, but in the sort of mid-30s, late 30s kind of generation of audio people, especially if you're from Europe or Australia, where the Commodore was basically a religious icon. It was everybody had either a Commodore 64 or a Commodore Amiga, and that was the desirable machine to have, and you could play games, and you could get really inspired, and unlike, your Super Famicom, SNES or whatever, you don't just sort of turn the power off and go off and do some exercise outside and be healthy. With the Amiga, you actually... With the Amiga, you eject the floppy disk with the game on it and put in, Pro Tracker or something and go and try it yourself, or go and put in D-Paint and try and do some graphics. Or it was such a great playground for everything. Everything that you see on the Amiga, you can create yourself, and all the stuff is available to you. And that's, for young kids at that time, it was just it's not hard to understand why it formed the direction for so many people, and one of those people is myself too.
It was a fantastic creative tool. Electronic Arts, who we of course know is around today, made notation software back then called Deluxe Music Construction Kit, which was the successor of a simpler program that was for 8-bit computers, but it was actually a usable compositional tool, and in many ways the forerunner of programs like Finale and Sibelius and all the notation powerhouses we have today. But you could actually write music with that thing, at least on the Amiga, which had, I believe, 4-voice polyphony.
That's right.
You could kind of eke out more by cheating, but it was a great computer. And if for all the viewers out there trying to extract some useful information from this particular episode of our show, if you're not familiar with the Amiga, go Wikipedia it, look it up. It was really an unsung hero, I think, of the electronic music world.
Absolutely. I think at the time, Vince will need to chime in here with a bit of historical context, but I think the Amiga was basically 1986 or 7, I think.
I believe 85.
85 until basically the mid-90s. The peak was around the turn of the decade. That's when everything was really, that was the peak, and it sort of faded out after that. But so in that 10-year span, I believe in 1985, what kind of console sound were we working with as far as video game consoles, Vince? Was it Was it the
Well,
Mega Drive? The Genesis, I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. I mean the Genesis slash Mega Drive. It had the OPM chip, which was sort of like a slightly cut rate version of the OPL chip that was popularized in things like the Sound Blasters and Adlibs.
Mm.
So nice FM synth. You had the Super Nintendo, which did 8-channel add PCM,
Mm.
and is actually somewhat comparable to what the Amiga could do, just at a lesser quality.
Mm.
And then, of course, since it was the mid '90s, you had that move to CD. So the 3DO was out at the time, and hey, suddenly people discovered Red Book Audio.
I remember that the place that the Amiga sampled sound, because it had, for those who don't know, it was 4 channels of 8-bit samples, and I can just remember that my friends had like Sega, we call it the Mega Drive, but it's the Genesis in the States, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like they're saying, check out the music in this game, and I'd go over and listen to it. It's like, wow, that sounds all. They were listening to FM sounds, of course, but it sounds all kind of like tinny, and go home to the Amiga and it's like this crunchy, raw, punchy kind of 8-bit samples that all come out of synthesizer, and of course real world, because you could get like a digitizer that would plug into the back of the Amiga, which would allow you to digitize actual sound. But the music that came out in that 10-year period for Amiga games was so distinct because it's all sampled sound, as opposed to anything that was generated by any kind of synthesizer chip. And so, yeah, that very unique kind of sound to the games, and of course the demo scene and all the music that came with that was a huge influence on all the Amiga game sound as well.
It's interesting, the fight that exists between FM and sampled. And I have a lot of friends that are on the sampled side and a lot of friends that are on the FM side. There's something about really, really good Genesis or Mega Drive games that have excellent FM programming on there. Because if you program those things right, you can make something that just sounds ridiculously awesome. So awesome that you would want to sample it and make that your bass, make that your percussion track as a sample in something else. There were a lot of very bad Mega Drive games where, well, the game wouldn't be bad, but it would rely on these sort of templates or shared sound drivers, which were basically shared patches between games, between companies of, okay, it's the same rote percussion kits, the same electric guitars, and everything got kind of samey. But then there were guys that really knew how to make that Yamaha OPM chip sing.
Carl's going to disagree with me, I know here, but I want to say it because it's going to be great to see his reaction. But I would equate FM synthesis and its place in game audio to the Fender Telecaster. It's kind of a bit more ugly, it's a bit more primitive, but it's very pure, it's very raw, and when you play it well, when you hear somebody play a Telecaster really well, it's really, really something special. And I think that FM sound in games, as much as I was on the sampled side when I was growing up, I do agree now that when I hear some really classic FM game soundtracks, there is a special, as Vince said, there's a special unique charm there, a kind of like a crystally, tinkly kind of that combined with this really sort of weighty, beefy kind of fat bottom end. Which to me, that's kind of the Telecaster in my eyes. Am I completely off base?
That's a great comparison, and that's something that is so true about guitar, is a Telecaster is so hard to play well. In some ways it's tied to a specific sound, like country, chicken picking, and stuff like that, because so many people use them. But then there are people like Adrian Utley from Portishead who will pull out a Telecaster and make it sing like some crazy Pink Floydish kind of wildness. It's a really versatile instrument, but people don't. You have to know how to play that thing to make it sound like you want it to sound. It's not an easy guitar to just grab and start playing. And I was working on something this weekend with a band called Bellhaven. You guys got to check them out. Bell-haven.com. And Dom Liberati, the singer, guitar player, songwriter, was in here, and he pulled out a Telecaster that he had, and I strummed it, and it sounded like Kyle playing a Telecaster, and then he did something, and I was like, there's a guy who knows how to play a Telecaster. It really is a dividing line, and people don't understand how difficult that guitar is and how you, I don't know what it is. It's almost spiritual. You really have to be part of that instrument to get it to sound great, and those people who can do it really well. And I agree that FM is the same way. I am no way an FM synthesis, and you guys already alluded to that by talking about my Yamaha over here. I love that synth, and if you want a song that sounds like me dropping PVC pipe all over the floor, I've got that sound for you. But other than that, I am not your FM synth guy. I can't figure out how to make that thing sound worthwhile. If you want Blue Man Group, Kyle Johnson, I got you covered.
If anyone's wondering what Kyle meant, that was a really good joke, because the most primitive thing you can do with an FM synthesizer is to take one carrier, one operator, put them together, and have an envelope on that, and it will sound like a PVC pipe dropping onto the onto some floor.
That is the extent of my FM ability.
I totally agree. I think my favorite of all the, I love synthesis, as you guys know. My favorite paradigm for synthesis is by far its frequency modulation. Well, actually, it's phase modulation, but that's a different topic for a different day. The name that we call it by is frequency modulation, thanks to something that was lost in translation back there at Yamaha in the 80s. But yeah, as Carl said, it's just like the Telecaster. You can get, if you know how to use it and you don't approach it like subtractive synthesizer. With a subtractive synthesis, it's all about just playing and then kind of refining it until it sounds right. FM synthesis is a bit more intellectual. You need to sort of be thinking about, okay, I want that, so I need to do that here, do that there. And usually if you're doing it on hardware, you're dealing with like this tiny sort of 2-line little display with just some numbers there. So, it is by, and it's just the process of doing it is much more intellectual. But if you get it right, it's really great. And a lot of those early Genesis games and the early FM game chips, they were doing it very right, especially from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look at that. We're at the end of the episode. Carl's gone off to find his...
I have not gone off. I have not gone off, I promise you. I am trying to show a picture of my TX.
There we go.
TX,
yeah, there's what you get when you get a synth like this. You get a tiny little screen, and you get this pull-out card that bends every time you try to put it in. So basically what that card is it's a card of intelligence, and you have a limited time to learn from it because it's going to bend and break the more you pull it out and push it back in. So this is the learning curve of FM synth. Figure this out before the card breaks off. You're screwed. There.
So like the card has 5 charges, basically.
Yes, exactly. I'm very careful because I'm ignorant. I put on white gloves so that I don't get any finger stains on it, and I slowly put it in. Oh,
just as if anybody's interested, there is a really excellent FM. It's based on the 6-operator DX7 model called DXED, DEXED, which is a free DX7 6-operator emulator. It's a VST and an AU plugin. It's open source, it's free, and you can actually use it to load all of the SysX patches that are available all across the wide interwebs for the DX7.
Wow.
So it's a really, like, that is literally millions of sounds because there was so much done for the DX7 because it was such a difficult synthesizer to program. So people made a lot of money by selling these sort of, batches of patches. But yeah, DXED, DEXED, DX7 FM synthesizer. It's quite difficult to use. Like it doesn't beat around the bush. It is FM synthesis. But with maybe if you've done synthesis before, maybe give yourself maybe an hour and a half with it, and you'll be able to get some sounds beyond just PVC pipes.
That's really cool. I know for a lot of that stuff, I usually use something called VOPM, so Virtual OPM. Which is also a free plugin. But the fact that DXED also sort of functions as, I guess, a patch librarian as well, that seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah, it loads all of the old patches. Put DXED through your best reverb. That would be Eventide, What's It for Kyle. Put it through your best reverb on sort of 50% dry, 50% wet. All of those kind of FM kind of sparkly overtones through your best reverb, That's some lusciousness right there. This is almost as luscious as the spaghetti that Carla's about to go and eat.
Oh, no, not spaghetti tonight. We're going crazy in the Johnson household. I got to get a haircut before our get-together tomorrow, so I am going to go out to eat.
Ah.
Don't know how to connect those two sentences, but I'm sure there's some logic. Like maybe a barber just whips up a mean rigatoni.
Yeah. Always get your haircut by Rigatoni. He's the best. Hey, with that beautiful segue, let's go bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching the show, chatties. And thank you for tuning in. Please like us on those things and tweet us on that thing. And scroll down on the other thing. And that's what we want you to do, please. Thank you, Isotope, for supporting the show. Great topics, fun show. See you guys next week.
We'll try hard.